Agile and sustainability, how do they fit together? Are certifications still driving a positive behavior? How about Agile outside of software development? HR, legal, finance? Where does Agile fit well and where is it challenging? And should Agile be held responsible for technological advancements that puts our humanity at risk? These are the topics for today's Lean Coffee. As usual, we take turns presenting a topic. I wind up the timer for 4 minutes, and when the alarm rings, we vote whether or not to add 90 more seconds or to continue with the next topic. Welcome to another episode of Lean Coffee, where we discuss current topics, challenges, articles, and things that piques our curiosity. Here we go. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Lean Coffee. My name is Janlén.
Hi, I'm Leila.
Hi, I'm Jagge.
Hi, I'm Anders.
So nice to see you all again. I'm happy we all made it, so we actually can have a follow-up episode. At the end of last episode, I also promised our viewers that we would introduce ourselves briefly. So let's see if we can live up to that promise. Anders, what do you do?
I'm a tech lead at Kryliv, a medtech and healthcare company.
Yeah, Jagge?
Yeah, I am a full stack dad, and also I work as an engineering manager for Tacton and Climate View.
Leila?
Yeah, so I work at a small consultancy firm called Doings, and I work mostly with people and organizations in change. And I guess my kind of niche is that I've been working a lot with combining Agile with HR.
My name is Janlén. I work as an Agile coach, working with companies and departments and teams and leadership to help them figure out how to use the Agile ideas and methodologies. And I'm currently also at Kry, actually. So me and Anders, we work together sometimes. All right, so hope we delivered on that introduction. Let's move on to the first topic.
Okay, so the topic I wanted to discuss today is Agile and Sustainability. So I thought it would be interesting to see together how it fits together. We're striving to develop more of a sustainable world, more sustainable companies, products, and even a more sustainable lifestyle for us human beings, so we can last in the long run. This could be connected to the 17 global goals for sustainable development, which you can read about online. And my question for all of you guys is, Agile and sustainability, do they fit together?
Oh, what did we have? That was a mixed bag. I'm turning up 4 minutes.
Yeah. Who had a nay?
I started with a no.
Okay.
So I'm torn on the topic because I think part of me want to say that there's nothing inherently good in Agile. It's just a more effective way of working, and it helps you slice your problems in a way, and it helps you adapt quicker to change. But you could do that and build awful things as well. So that's my no. But then my yes is kind of like, but there's also such a strong connection to like human values in Agile and collaboration and bringing people into like hearing the voice of the people and getting people to make decisions. Everyone in the company being part of making decisions. And so I think that's where it connects to sustainability, because people think sustainability is important. And if companies become more agile, my bet is that sustainability will get a push along the way.
I want to be optimistic. So if you're working agile, you put purpose, you lift that up and make purpose and the why more important. So hopefully companies talk more about that. But I'm on your line, Anders. I think doing agile is more about optimizing the way we deliver value, or increasing the likelihood of the success of our company, not necessarily saving the world, unless we have that as a purpose. So for me, not really. It's like democracy is a brilliant tool, but it kind of has its shortcomings when it comes to dealing with these global problems. It's short-sighted and populistic. And I think Agile suffers the same challenge in that term as a solution to a global problem.
I guess you're right with the purpose, because the companies have the purpose itself, of course, to solve things, and but companies that work with this high purpose also use Agile in one way to reach that, because the target is so complex itself and big, so you need to break it down to be able to even reach there. And so that's one sense. And of course, I don't like to put that like it's not Agile, and it's not certain that will drive that. But on the other hand, focusing on outcome, and maybe even, as you said, Anders, the idea of the community in Agile actually, in many cases, are a positive community that looks like these things. So the idea of Agile drives or lure in the right-minded people, I think. So it's positive.
Yeah. I think my J also comes from that part. Like, what made me kind of fall in love with like the Agile principles and values is the very human side of how we view each other, how we view our co-creation, and how we work together, like that process. And if you look at like the global goals, it's also about partnering up together to accomplish something, which I think is highly a part of the Agile principles, that we work together rather than negotiating with our customers, etc. We create a partnership. And I also see like the connection to the working process in itself with teams, like how we try to create a space where people feel safe to express their views, to develop themselves. And also, I think another thing, and that is like the pace of Agile. The pace of Agile is actually doing pacing. We're in it for the long run. We do work a lot with time estimations and like how much we think we can accomplish during this period of time. You can put that in contrast to like crunching, when you just want to work really hard for shorter periods, and people often burn out from those kind of working arrangements. So I think that's kind of where my connections are to sustainability.
I think if you're a company trying to innovate on these solutions that can help the global environment problem, doing that using Agile, it's probably going to help you succeed faster. This thing rang, up or down? How do you know it's a split?
Oh my God, what do we do?
Okay, the facilitator. Leila, you decide.
Okay, let's continue.
Cool.
Totally biased.
So I think, indirectly, I think if I can just expand a little bit upon that. If I'm working with the batteries or any kind of solutions, grabbing carbon dioxide from the air or anything like that, I think Agile will help you innovate faster and reach your goals faster.
Yeah.
But not necessarily help us unite around the global goals. That's the work of, sadly, the work of politicians. These don't seem to be doing that great.
I think it could be, but I also see a lot of like, if you look at Sweden, for example, there are so many organizations and communities out there who are actually working towards this in a very like close way, with or without politicians, to be frank. But I don't necessarily see the global goals as accomplishing something. I also see it as the process, how you do things. And if you look at that perspective, I think there are a lot of connections that could be made to Agile, where we have this perspective of actually, I think one of the global goals is like decent working terms, etc. I think that's highly a big part of Agile. All of these like very human elements that I think is a part of the values. And I also see that often when Agile goes wrong is when people have forgotten about these human elements within Agile as well.
Yeah, Jagge, you had also a thumbs up.
One way is that you can say that Agile is everything. So that's one way of seeing it. if we are going in that direction. But to be a more serious point, I still believe that the way of working in small innovative sprints will help solve these things.
Yeah.
All right, time again. That was
Cool.
quick 90 seconds.
Done.
Cool. So moving on to next topic.
Good. Okay, so the next topic to talk about is about certification and training. So my question is, are certifications still driving a positive behavior change? Yes or no?
I love your palms. Who wants to go first?
I'm the old one out, so perhaps I'll start this time. Perhaps it's a loaded question because you started with, is it still driving a positive change? So I think you at least thought at one point it did, but I mean, personally, I don't see a lot of certifications anymore. It never comes up in when we hire people or when we bring people on. But my bet is that it's still relevant in these large traditional companies that are still struggling to get to Agile. And so they come back to the basics of, okay, how do we find these people? Well, certifications is an easy way to look at it. And my experience with the certification courses, like the basic Scrum certification or other certifications, is that they're actually pretty good courses. You do learn a lot of valuable things in a short time. The certification itself doesn't tell you much other than you went to this course. But I think for these companies, it provides a value and it's positive for them at least.
I do agree that many of the certifications trainings are brilliant courses. So 1 or 2 days or 3 days even, depending on the teacher, of course. So I think you can learn a lot from attending them. However, I'm not convinced that they're driving good behavior in the business. So many of the consultancy dragons, they make sure that all their consultants have all the right certifications so that they can send them off to kind of traditional companies that are doing a superficial transformation. And vice versa. So these people that have certifications might be thrown into challenges that they have not experienced to tackle them, but they've been sold to this assignment thanks to having this certification. So I think the behaviors it drives are bad. The knowledge is great.
I also believe in knowledge and education, even though I said disagree on this one. I think that's super important, and I don't think we should ever stop learning. But I do think that there is somewhat of a certification is kind of losing its purpose or its meaningfulness because there are so many around. It's so easy to get. I do have a few of them myself, and sometimes I could question a few of them as well, and that kind of makes it not having the same value as it may be had before, because I'm guessing, Jagge, that you're referring back to the history of when we used certifications to make sure that there was more equality in between people because they could actually get a certification instead of being chosen just because they were friends with that person. So I think we have moved away from that. Yes.
Yeah, but I think it's both. As you said, of course, it's that, and also in the beginning, or beginning sounds like, in beginning of time, but in the beginning, early days of Agile, it was more confused maybe what this was. So certification helped to actually frame concepts, at least for me, how interpretation, what could it be that was good for them. Okay, this Scrum, for example, I love the courses. It's very practical, good training. And then we can always go into this idea of, is certification good or not? Is knowledge good? Yes, it is. And of course, sometimes you might need certification because otherwise who can we trust is giving the right knowledge? So I'm back and forth there, but my feeling is that we're still stumbling a little bit nowadays in the type of training we need or not.
Yeah, and another thing that confuses, at least in the Agile world, that there's competing certifications as well. So Scrum Org, Scrum Alliance, ICA Agile, which is the truth? And I get the sour taste in my, damn it. It's this one again. What do we go for? Cool. Thanks, I got to finish my sentence at least. And many of the certifications are kind of pyramid schemes. So you need to pay to renew the certifications and to be able to hold trainings and get access to the materials. And it doesn't matter if the training itself is brilliant. I kind of smells bad to me that it works like that.
Yeah,
but it's a business.
I think on that point, like I don't like the like you need to pay a recurring subscription to continue to have this certification. Let's say I mean it's probably a very good financial setup for the people giving them, but I don't think it adds any value. If anything, you'd want people to renew them, right, and refresh their memory of the courses they've been taking. But I do think there's a value in. I think we talked about this last time, but there's so easy to just assume that everyone coming into the business and being new in the work life just knows about that, because that's now in many places the default way of working, and they don't. So I think there's still a big value in these fairly basic courses. Most certifications tend to the basic side of Agile, and I would love for everyone to have taken one of the basic Scrum courses just to get some thinking on what is Agile, how does it work, how do we work together, have same vocabulary.
I think
that should be part of high school curriculum by now.
Yeah, the baseline understanding is always good to have, and also what I'm thinking, like sometimes certification is very good to have. For example, if you take in someone to fix the bathroom, it's a perfect certification.
Okay, continue.
So in that case, you want certifications because you need to have the feeling of trust in the terms of they know to do their job well. But so the training has a purpose there. Right now, maybe I have lost that, because if someone has done a lot of certification in CPO and Scrum, it doesn't say anything if they're, for me at least, if they're good at doing their job or not. It says that they could be perfect in their role or not. So that's why I'm losing the idea of it could be perfect, could also be saying nothing.
Yeah, but that's also the challenge of knowledge transfer, which I don't think that's a classical dilemma with formal education. You do formal education, but then you also need to be able to transfer this into practical knowledge. And that's a higher level of consciousness that takes time and takes practice. And this is classic, I think, within leadership as well, that you do a lot of like off-site courses, also often disconnected from the environment you mostly are in. You're at a pretty mansion somewhere, and then you learn 300 new leadership tools, and then you're supposed to go back and be fantastic leader now for everybody. And people are like scared shitless around you because you are now trying out your tools. Yeah, thank you.
I'm realizing that I'm kind of peeking at where you're voting at all the time, but anyhow, thanks for that topic. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so as you all know, Agile kind of started in the software development part of business, but since then it's spread into a lot of other areas. So we talk about Agile HR, legal Agile, Agile finance, and just Agile and we try to apply it outside of software development. So I'd love to hear your take on where does it fit really well, where you've seen it really have a good impact, and where have you seen it struggle, where doesn't it fit?
I could talk about this forever, so I'm going to start.
But don't talk forever.
Might happen, but so because this is really where I come from. So when I started out with my first HR manager assignment, I wanted to I understood that Agile was a thing, and I wanted to see if you can merge HR with Agile, and that worked out perfectly fine. So for the question of where it's made like a lot of impact, I think it's so well connected to working with people and culture. that really works out well. You can productify almost every delivery. You can work with like all of the practices really well. Then during the years, we've seen business agility develop, where you have this holistic view that not only software should be agile, but every part within the organization should be agile. And then I think, yeah, I've tried to get finance on board so many times. And I've also tried to work with marketing a lot, which has also been, I think, challenging, both of them.
Just think that marketing is challenging because they feel like they should be innovative.
Yes.
And like
they
trying
are.
new things, a concept, and like, you know, interesting.
I have such an urge to jump in here. For me, there's been a kind of an inflation in agile terms, agile HR, agile finance, agile coffee mugs, agile marketing, and to the point where it's just, what? You're just slapping the word agile onto something.
Yeah.
But so it's, for me, it's about, you can work in an agile manner, organize into teams, deliver value in small steps and so on, retrospectives, so the agile ideas. And I think that's applicable in almost all situations. Then we have the other aspect of the agile approach to, well, the delivery. For example, in agile finance, if you do beyond budgeting, that's a way of forecasting and dealing with numbers that fits agile. If you have a salary review process that emphasizes on behavior, not results, that's going to support an agile organization. So I think for me to make sense of this, you need to kind of be more precise. But I have heard plenty of examples of other situations. So I heard of a kindergarten where the staff meets on a regular basis. They plan the week, they have retrospectives and so on. I have plenty of such examples. So depending on what you mean with it, I think it should be applicable everywhere. Well, I have a few exceptions in mind, but
he wonders where it's made the most impact and where it's been hardest. So yes, it is applicable everywhere. I do agree, but I've also seen it being made easier, and I've seen it being so much harder. I think for me, as an example, because I've been leaning towards organizations that do drive from a perspective of business agility, that it is a holistic view and it goes all the way through the organization. I think that's the most interesting organization for me to work in. And then you want everybody to come along on that path, kind of. And when you try to get people together, I think that's where it becomes interesting to see when it hits, when it becomes messy.
And I think it boils down to that. Sorry, Anders, I'm going to let you in. It always boils down to the people. If they believe in that teams are more powerful than individual heroes, and if you have a couple of those core beliefs in the people working there, then it's possible. If they don't believe in these things, it's going to be a struggle. Another situation might be a total struggle if maybe you're having a support department with a lot of young people rotating in and out, in and out, in and out. There's no common purpose, and they don't work actually together. They may perhaps coordinate some tools or tasks. Damn it.
I want to hear Anders.
Anders, yes, please.
No, I think I agree with you, Leila, that it's like the most impactful is when you take it to the business level and you talk about business agility and you really see agility as a strategic capability that you want to harness in the company, that you want that ability to shift priorities quickly, and you see the business value in that. That's when it becomes really, really impactful. And I think the other question where it doesn't fit, I think it fits in legal as well, because I think just like you say in HR, you can work with like small deliveries and you can foster teamwork within legal. But I like I was told an anecdote of someone explaining Agile to a legal team, a legal firm, and they said, so it really boils down to close collaboration with your customers to really bring them in and collaborate closely. I'm like, yeah, and they're like, so breaking down the boundaries. Yeah, that's a good summary of Agile. And they just looked at it and was like, that's the opposite of what we do in legal.
Oh, that's funny.
But another group that I also felt where it's been challenging is sales teams. And I know there are a lot of like heroes out there really trying to make it work, and there are good examples. But I think from the cultural perspective of sales team being very individualistic and very much external rewarded, I think it's been really hard to get that kind of understanding when you move into sales teams.
Yeah. All right, you win. I'm adding 90 seconds.
Again.
I don't remember where Agile, the principle of Agile, I don't know if we're going back to where it was created, or if that's even the point where it's created. But let's say where the human aspects comes in so much and turns out to be like a people, culture, HR thing. Because if I look at HR from the beginning, it was like Agile from the beginning.
Yeah.
Care about people. Then HR got lost somewhere, and then the tech took over and thought like, yeah, technology, that's the easy part. People is the hard part. Let's focus on the people. Tech we can solve. That's just depending on how difficult it is. And then it's like everyone grew and got older and got management positions. And they said, hey, why? I know how we do it. We do it like this. And then everything reborn again. That's just my brief 15 years of Agile people culture transformation or something.
Yeah, true.
I'm not saying anything really, but it was, you have said everything already.
It was nice to hear your voice though. Like,
thank you. Not everyone thinks that, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's more you stop using Agile finance or Agile HR or Agile marketing. Talk about the principles and practices and how they support us in delivering value. For me, that's it. Should we? Okay, moving on. Maybe we should figure out a way to remove the priming here when we vote. But
oh, you mean like that? Yeah, no.
Anywho,
I like the group bias effect.
Topic closed. Let's move on to the last
topic.
Sorry.
We can have bias as a topic.
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Your favorite
coming up
bias.
in a future episode. All right, moving on to the last topic for today. All right, the last topic. So Steve Denning is a renowned figure in Agile literature, and he's written several books. This is one of them. I really love this one. And he's also recently written The Age of Agile, I think it's called. And the other month, he wrote an article called Dealing with Fresh Critique of Agile, where he tries to argue against critiques that has been risen. And I asked you to read that article, and he mentions stuff like critique like technology, bits and bytes aren't real, humans are. So he tried to debunk that myth. Technology is destroying humanity, he tried to debunk that myth. And since Agile was born from technology, it can't be useful for others. I'm not going to make this into an yay or nay. What did you make of the article? It was not a super long one, but decent at least. What did you make of it? What are your thoughts?
So I think his summary at the end comes down to, sure, you can make the argument that Agile comes from technology, and at least in his mind there seems to be a big movement that is now against technology, or at least against the big tech firms, and so anything that comes from that world is inherently bad.
Yeah.
And then he argues against that, but I think that's a very easy argument to make. So perhaps I'm not seeing these critiques of Agile that he's mentioning, because they seem pretty far-fetched to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I was confused as well when I read. Jagge, Leila?
Yeah, I also interpreted this like he's doing this comparison towards a technological paradigm shift and how technology is evil. But and I think it was kind of far-fetched examples in this article, so it was really hard to connect this criticism that he saw against Agile with the technology.
Yeah, that was really confused me, because he argues that these are critiques brought against Agile, and his defense is no technology is a good thing. Agile is not technology. It's a belief on how we should collaborate in order to maximize value.
Yeah.
So I was utterly confused, and
what was even more confusing was when you explained who he was, which I didn't know about. Then because my first thought was, okay, random dude writing random shit. I've heard that one before. Yeah. Just neglected. but then I heard then you explained to me who he was, and then I got really confused. I'm like, okay, so this dude actually knows something about Agile and he's trying to make sense of shit. And he's also an author, so apparently he can write. So yeah.
No, he's done a lot of great stuff. Yeah, what was your take on it?
But maybe, you know, when people think a lot and read a lot, they thought pattern goes so far out.
Yeah.
So they connect dots that like even either is too hard to see, I need to read again, or it's like made up dots. But anyway, technology is. I can see the critique, and I can feel it like technology firms getting too big, and this and you like 1984 they are taking over the world thing. Sure. Yeah, we all talked about this previous in this episode, that the good thing with Agile and also the bad thing with Agile is that it can be applied everywhere. And so it was born from a technology technology was complex, so people needed to organize around that to solve it. So does it have influence on technology? Of course, but for me, I think it's far-fetched maybe, but with all respect, I could have misunderstood the article also.
I feel like I do that too, but we recorded the origin. That's actually interesting. So yeah, it did originate from technology, not because there's something magical about technology. I think it was due to kind of evolution. There was such fierce competition in that marketplace that companies who succeeded happened to be doing Agile as a tool to success, to outcompete, to outlearn others. So there were other frameworks in place, Root, Waterfall, and so on. So this just happened to be a very successful approach to work in a highly competitive business or marketplace. Could that happen anywhere?
I'm not sure I agree. I think certain things with Agile could have happened anywhere. And because we now have seen that it translates well to other areas, I think that's a proof point. But I do think software had a few things that were very unique. Like most things where you constructed things before software was bound by hard limits, so you couldn't do these things that you do in Agile.
Yeah. Okay. So 1.5 more minutes or wrap up. Let's see. 1, 2, and 3. All right.
Okay. Go.
Continue.
So I think. No, I think the software made it possible to work in a different way, and working with software and slicing problems into very short deliverables, which was very hard in most areas. And now we find that in many areas you change how you build things that are not software so that you can get these benefits.
Yeah. So it did link to a previous article he wrote, which makes a lot of sense, I think. So I can recommend the reading on that one.
Didn't we have Agile before they went to the cabin? Wasn't that just a way to actually frame it?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about software but come on, surely someone in the history need to work in like iteration.
Yeah, but of course,
I can see that didn't happen.
Then we're going back to the full history lesson here now of like lean and how all shit developed, and we're going back to Toyota and doing all of that. Are we doing that now?
No, I mean that's maybe that is technology. I was meaning that maybe it's not coming from technology at all. Maybe it's coming from something else, like
it's coming from
competing with big dragons. Yeah.
1, 2, and 3.
For God's sake.
For God's sake. So that was a wrap up. Steve Denning, we still love you, even though we couldn't figure out how to interpret that specific blog post. So let's wrap up this episode, as we always do. Well, even though this is the second time only, with some key takeaways. So Leila, if you would pick one thing, what would that be?
Yeah, I'm a bit kind of stuck in the topic where we discussed about certifications and if they like drive good behaviors. So I'm thinking there is something to unreveal or to reveal more in this topic. where it works great with certifications for handymen, but it's kind of been watered out in maybe the agile world or similar. And that's interesting. I want to dig deeper.
Anders?
It feels like we touched on a lot of the big topics today, but I think my key takeaway is that while part of me wants to say there's nothing inherently good or bad in Agile, it's just a better way of working, a more effective way of working. There's something fundamentally human about Agile, and it puts the humans in center. And I think that because I believe in humans, I guess I think it means there is something inherently good in Agile.
Oh.
That was nice, Anders, and I was planning to say the same thing, so I'll take my second one, which is what? No, I was planning to say first, like Agile doesn't have any soul in that sense. It just is what it is, and can be used in different ways. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Hopefully good. But I also want to follow up on sales. Has a cultural challenge. I think we need to transform sales to be more than also. I don't think all salespeople drives with bonus system. That's just old things. So do more agile in sales, which means basically be more human.
Yeah. My key takeaway was, I think, also the certification discussion and what you said, Anders, that we hire great people and simply assume they understand the way we work in terms of Agile and Scrum, but we don't check that they have some basic knowledge or even give them basic knowledge as they arrive. So actually requiring or sending them off to a basic Agile Scrum training would be helpful for all parties, I think. Gives them off to a better start. Cool, yeah. So that's the true wrap of this episode. Nice to see you all. And yeah, we'll be back in a month from now. So yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Is there anything you would like us to discuss and debate in future episodes? Please leave your suggestions for topics in the comments below. Even though these episodes turned out to be rather long, I'm really happy that so many of you enjoy them. In the previous and first episode of Lean Coffee, we discussed if Agile coaching is a competence or a role, and much more. Check it out here. And until next time, explore, have fun, be safe.